So things are changing, or at least things are becoming more transparent. A few days ago, Steam put out a notice that said anything you buy is just a license. Now, of course, that isn't really news to anyone. Since the dawn of digital products, that has always been the case. But if you go and ask anyone who isn't in a YouTube space or didn't read the article that came out about Bruce Willis about 10 years ago, they would probably assume that they own the digital products that they are buying. When in actual fact, you are just buying a license, meaning you have the right to stream that content. But if the provider of said content decides they want to take it away, or they lose the rights themselves, in turn, you will no longer be able to stream whatever you've bought. Now, like I said, that's been the case since the dawn of digital products. It hasn't always been clear, but now it seems like it's going to become more of a mainstream thing, and more people will know about it because they have to sign off on it. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is just a California state law at the moment, but things always start small, and eventually here in the UK we'll probably have the same thing as well. It's very similar, in my opinion anyway, to that Type C argument that's going around right now. So in Europe they made it a law that every new electronic device will require a USB-C type charger to eliminate all of the unique chargers, meaning that companies can't profit off creating a unique charger and everything is going to have to use Type C. And of course, because the UK isn't part of the European Union, we didn't just follow suit, but now we're going, should we do it as well? And of course we will end up doing it as well. We just didn't want to do it at the same time as Europe because everyone would have been like, I thought we weren't part of Europe anymore. Why are we going along with them?
Brexit means Brexit.
And by everyone, of course, I mean the 3 people who still think leaving the EU was a good idea. So why are you here listening to this? Because you already knew that, right? Something that I've never considered. I don't know why I've never considered it, because now I know it, I'm thinking to myself, I really should have thought of this before.
What you talking about, Willis?
You're not buying the game. You're not buying the movie, you're buying the license, okay? So why are we still paying full price for digital products? You walk into Asda, because there are no video game stores in it. How is that a thing? How are there no video game stores? Anyway, that's besides the point. That's for another video. I walk in there and I buy a new game. It's cost me $59.99. Whereas my brother, he is all about digital. So he goes on the storefront and he buys the game. Or at least he buys the license to the game. How much did it cost him? $59.99. How does that make any sense? I've got a physical copy of the game. He has a license for the game. And it still cost him the same price as it's cost me. Although therein lies another problem. These days, of course, the discs don't actually have all the content on it. In fact, the majority of new releases that are physical will only have about a gig, if that, and I mean if that, because some of them only have a couple of megabytes on them. The rest of it, you have to download from the store. And of course, that again isn't anything new, but it's something that not that long ago I sort of looked at and thought, wow, I can't believe this is actually a thing. A lot of people in the comments said, yeah, this has been around for a very long time and you're only just noticing. Well, to be fair, didn't really play an awful lot of new games or look at the screen when it was installing. I just sort of stuck it on to install. I would leave the room and go do something else and come back and it would be finished. Who sits there and just stares at the installation screen?
It's installed.
But yes, the majority of games nowadays will have just a license key on the disc and then the rest of it is downloaded. Meaning that even if you buy it physical, you technically speaking are still only buying a license to it. What happens in 10, 15, 20, 30 years time when you want to revisit this game again, but the company that made the game in the first place no longer exists, or they don't have the servers up? Are you going to still be able to play it? If you try and Google this information, it is almost impossible to get an answer. So we are very much in a grey area, uncharted waters if you will, when it comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox One and Series X games. We have no idea what is going to happen in 10 years time, 15 years time, when someone picks up a second-hand copy of a game, goes home to play it, and the server no longer exists for said game, meaning they might not be able to download it. And I don't mean the online server, so you can't play FIFA 25 online online in the year 2034 or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I mean the server that provides the download for you no longer exists, meaning that if I put a disc into my console and it has a 500 meg file on it that is literally just a license, and then it tries to download the game from the network, but the network no longer exists, I can't play that game because it has nothing to download, meaning I just have a piece of plastic that means nothing. So not that long ago, I'm scrolling through the CEX app and I see Game of Thrones Telltale Collection is available for the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. Fantastic, I thought. I really want to play that. Not played it before. Got the Walking Dead complete collection. Haven't played the Game of Thrones. Really got into Game of Thrones even more than I originally did because I used to hate the ending, but now I don't hate the ending as much. Anyway, besides the point, looked into it a little bit. How many episodes are there, etc. The cover of the case to this game says Game of Thrones Telltale game series. Now in its defense, it doesn't actually say the complete series or anything, but what I discovered is it's just the 5 episodes, despite the fact that there are 6 episodes. Now I know what you're thinking, well of course, 5 episodes on the disc, you download the 6th, what's the problem? Well, I don't actually know if that's the case. You may put the disc in and it might just be that license and then you download the 5 episodes, I'm not sure. The problem is that it's been removed from stores, not just the Xbox store but the PlayStation store as well, as best of my knowledge anyway. The whole game has been removed. So even if you have the disc, yes, you can absolutely play 5 episodes, but you cannot play the 6th.
Apparently there is a way to play the 6th episode. The disc tends to bug out and may require a few installs until the option to download the episode appears. But unless you buy it physically, there is currently no way to play this game as far as I, and this AI voice is aware.
And of course I can stand here and say that physical media is the way forward all I want. The problem there is that the game isn't on the disc. I don't often get the question, but if someone came to me and said, do you think physical media is the future? Do you think it's wise to buy into physical media? I'd have to make them a cup of coffee, sit them down, because this would be a fairly long chat. But in a nutshell, if you want to buy movies, absolutely, buy them physical. Makes perfect sense. DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, whichever medium you wish to choose, the full content is on the disc for the most part. At least the main bulk of it. The movie itself, the TV show itself will be on the disc. It makes perfect sense to buy these things physical. You'll have them forever. Doesn't matter whether the company goes bust, they lose the license to stream it or sell it or whatever. You have it physical. It doesn't matter what happens to the company. However, when it comes to video games specifically, that is a problem because the companies can lose the license, therefore you won't be able to download the game. These things can absolutely happen. If they close down, who knows what's going to happen. So for anyone looking to buy into physical media these days, my advice, despite the fact that I still buy and collect Xbox One and Series X games, is to not do it if you're in it for the collection. If you're a collector and you've bought these games for preservation and you have them on your shelf thinking, well, in 30 years time I'll be able to play all these games again because I have them physical. Maybe not. There is a strong chance you won't be able to. Something will have happened to at least one of the games you have in your collection where you won't be able to play it, making that lump of plastic on your shelf completely worthless. It is a relic. It's like buying an online-only game physical. So, for example, Concord, I mean this is the most high profile example that we have at the moment anyway. If you bought that physical, can't do anything with it. It's gone, it's done, it's dusted. And it's going to be the same for games like Hell Let Loose and any other online like Fortnite. If you have the disc for it, at the moment the servers are still up. Yeah, go for it, play it, enjoy it. But in 10-20 years time when no one's playing it anymore, the servers are shut down because they didn't have a player base, that disc is now worthless. And it'll be exactly the same for these other games that require downloads where they are no longer on the storefront and you can't download them anymore. Of course it's different if you're not a collector but you're someone who just wants to play these games. Then physical media makes perfect sense. Go out, buy the game for 60 quid brand new, take it home, play it, finish it, trade it back in, sell it on eBay, whatever it may be. That is the advantage of physical over digital for the casual gamer and for people who don't really care about collecting the current generation or even the previous generation. If you go out and buy a game digitally for 60 quid, well, whether you like it or not, whether you finish it or whether you don't, it doesn't make a difference. You're stuck with it. You've sunk the money into it. It's gone. You have the game, fine, but eventually you may not have the game. You may not be able to play it for reasons we've already gone over about 20 times in this video. So if you buy a brand new release for 60 60 quid physical, chances are it's only really going to cost you about 20 quid because you'll probably be able to finish it or get your fill of it and then sell it for 40. Unless it's a yearly release like FIFA, which you like to keep for about 6 months, then it might cost you 40, not 20. So if you're new to collecting and you actually want a physical collection to keep for evermore, maybe think about it if you've not considered this before. Your games don't actually come on the disc, therefore in 20-30 years time they may not be playable from the disc. Do you really want to be collecting into this generation of games and what is probably going to be the norm going forward when the discs don't actually have all the game on them? Maybe it is only sensible to collect for the PS3 360 era and back. In my opinion anyway, it does only really make sense to do that. And of course, some games there will be online only. Some games there won't have all of the information on the disc, and you'll have to do your research accordingly. But it does make me really want to not buy newer releases. And of course, you may know all this. You may have taken all this into consideration before and still decide to buy physical games for the PS5 and the Series X. And you may not believe that one day you won't have the ability to download said game anymore, but it does go to show that it can happen because it happened to a game like Game of Thrones on the Xbox 360 and indeed the Xbox One. It wasn't that long ago that it happened, and I'm sure there are plenty of other examples of this. This is just one that I encountered when I wanted to buy the game for myself. And if it can happen that soon after they launch that game, who's to say it won't happen in 20-30 years time? That is a long time. I know you're thinking, well, 20-30 years is a long way away, and that's absolutely true, but this can happen tomorrow. I'm saying 20-30 years because, well, I'm just trying to stretch it out, right? But it could happen next Thursday. You just don't know. And then you'll be lumbered with this thing that is no longer worth anything. And it has made me rethink what I'm doing with physical media as well, and I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do with it, because I don't want an entire Xbox One Series X collection. Yes, it'll look impressive. Look at all these games I have. But then over time, one by one, oh well, this episode is no longer available to download. You can't play this game online anymore. This is this, that, this. And eventually they'll all start dropping like flies, and I just have 300 lumps of plastic on the shelf that do absolutely nothing but remind me of a time where I made this video. And I thought to myself, maybe don't waste your money on all these games. Buy them, sure. Play them, absolutely. Move them on once you've finished. Let me know in the comments if you collect video games, which I'm pretty sure if you're still here, you probably do. Do you collect for modern systems, and are you actually planning to keep them? You don't care what's around the corner, you have them in your collection right now, and even if in XX amount of years they are no longer able to be played off the disc, you don't care, they're still part of your collection and you'll still cherish them anyway. Or have you maybe decided, well, Xbox 360, PS3, that is the absolute most I will go to. There are of course some games on the PS4 and the Xbox One that are all on the disc and you can play it off there without an internet connection, so maybe you're only looking to collect those, and that would kind of make sense, I suppose. Let me know in the comments though what type of collector or gamer that you are. Do you have a cutoff point in your collection for a certain era? I do have a series video coming in the next couple of days, so look out for that if you're interested. If you'd like to check out a video from that series, you can click here. And until the next time, goodbye.